I was working at DoorDash that night, running deliveries like usual. It's my main gig, so most nights I try to log at least 8 or 9 hours. The only problem is, I'm terrible at keeping a schedule. Some nights, I don't even start until 9 or 10 p.m. This was one of those nights. Around 1 a.m., an order came in a pickup from a small gas station convenience store. Just one cheap bottle of wine. Weird, but I didn't think much about it. I drove up to the station, grabbed the bottle from the cashier, and double-checked the name on the app. Everything matched. The drop-off was 15 minutes away, down a back road surrounded by woods. That's normal where I live, so I didn't overthink it. When I turned onto the driveway, though, I noticed how rough it was, full of potholes, gravel crunching under my tires. At the end stood a lone, weather-beaten house. My headlights were the only light around. Every window was black. I parked, stepped out, and immediately felt how quiet it was. No bugs, no wind, just the sound of my own footsteps on the gravel. Pulling up the order screen, I made sure the ID check prompt was ready. That's when I spotted something, a small light out among the trees. It looked far off, like maybe a porch light from another house. I shrugged it off. Walking up the porch steps, I didn't see a doorbell, so I knocked. The sound echoed through the inside, like the place was empty. A minute passed. Finally, I heard slow footsteps. The door creaked open, revealing a tall, thin man. Shadows swallowed most of his face. There wasn't a single light on behind him. He nodded when I mentioned the wine and said, in a gravelly voice, that he needed to grab his wallet. Then he turned and disappeared into the darkness, leaving the door wide open. Unease crept up my spine. Who lives in total darkness at 1 a.m? I glanced back at my car headlights glowing against the trees. That's when I saw the light again. Only this time, it was closer. Someone was out there, holding it steady, watching. My stomach tightened. From inside the house came the soft groan of floorboards. As if someone or something was moving carefully toward the door. Instinct took over. I bolted down the steps, sprinted to my car, and slammed the door shut. As I threw the car into reverse, the light in the woods shifted, almost like its holder had started moving toward me. I didn't wait to see. I floored it back up the driveway, heart hammering in my chest. Only after I'd put a few miles between myself and that house did I pull over at the gas station where I'd picked up the order. My hands were still shaking as I sat there, trying to convince myself I'd overreacted. Maybe the guy just liked keeping his lights off. Maybe that light was a neighbor's flashlight. Days later, I couldn't get the image out of my head, that dark doorway, the light among the trees. I finally looked up the address, hoping to calm my nerves. Instead, I found out the house had been abandoned for over 50 years. The land around it was supposed to be empty. No neighbors, no residents, just woods. I don't know who or what I almost handed that bottle of wine to, but I do know this. I'm lucky I trusted my gut that night. Because whatever was waiting for me in that pitch-black house wasn't planning to give me a 5-star rating. In 2018, my older brother asked me to watch his dog, Rocky, while he went out of town for a 3-day work trip. Rocky's a smart German Shepherd mix, friendly but protective, so I didn't mind. My brother's place isn't really a cabin, more like a regular house tucked deep in the woods, but everyone calls it the cabin, so that's what I'll call it too. The first day was calm. We spent the afternoon hanging out before my brother left around 3. By evening, I decided to build a small fire in the yard. Rocky lay at my feet as the sun set behind the trees. For an hour, it was perfect. Crackling fire, cool air, the kind of quiet you don't get in town. But once the sun disappeared, the mood changed fast. The woods swallowed every bit of light, and the stillness felt wrong. No crickets, no wind, just a heavy silence pressing in from all sides. I doused the fire and headed inside. I put on a horror movie, ironic, I know, and stretched out on the couch. Rocky curled up beside me. The long drive had worn me out, and halfway through the movie, I kept nodding off. One time, when I opened my eyes, Rocky wasn't next to me anymore. He was sitting by the front door, body tense, ears forward, staring through the wood like he could see something outside. "Rocky, you okay, buddy?" I asked. He flicked a glance at me, then back at the door, still stiff as a statue. I peered through the peephole, nothing but darkness. I cracked the door and leaned out. Cool air, empty yard, silent forest. I shut it again, uneasy but trying to stay rational. Probably a deer wandering by. The next day passed quietly. I stayed close to the cabin, made coffee on the porch, even tried a short walk before deciding the woods were too easy to get lost in. By dusk, I was back inside with Rocky, another movie on the TV. He lay beside me for a while, then wandered off. Suddenly, his deep bark ripped through the cabin. I jumped up and found him in the kitchen, hackles raised, tail low, teeth bared at nothing. He wouldn't stop growling at the dark window over the counter, a window too high for him to see out of. "It's okay, Rocky," I said softly, though my pulse was racing. I coaxed him back to the living room, but he barely settled before a hollow tapping came from the kitchen wall. 3 sharp thumps, like knuckles rapping on glass. Rocky launched back into barking. This time, I didn't hush him. I grabbed the flashlight and went to the kitchen. Nothing. The yard beyond the window was a solid sheet of black. I told myself it had to be an animal, though deep down, I didn't believe it. To calm both of us, I decided we'd sleep in the bedroom. There was a small TV in there, so I left it on while I got ready for bed. Rocky stayed glued to my side, ears perked at every creak. By 11 p.m., lights off, I stepped into the shower to rinse off. I was halfway through when 3 heavy thuds hit the outer wall, followed by Rocky's furious barking. I killed the water, yanked on my clothes, and ran out. The bedroom door was wide open. Rocky was gone, his barking echoing from deeper inside the cabin. Heart pounding, I followed the sound to the front door standing ajar, letting in a slice of moonlight. Beyond it, Rocky's silhouette sprinted toward the tree line, barking as if chasing something. I grabbed a flashlight and tore after him. Branches clawed at my arms as I plunged into the forest. Within seconds, the barking stopped. I froze, surrounded by absolute silence, the beam of my light catching nothing but endless trees. "Rocky!" I yelled. "Rocky, come!" My voice sounded small against the dark. A minute dragged by, then rustling quick, frantic, and Rocky burst from the shadows, tail tucked, whining as he darted behind me. I didn't wait to see what he'd left behind. We ran straight back to the cabin and slammed the door. I locked every bolt, called 911, and then my brother. The deputies who arrived didn't find anyone, but they agreed someone had probably been watching the place, maybe even slipped inside before Rocky scared them off. That night, we stayed in a hotel. My brother came home the next day, and we never figured out who or what had been stalking the cabin. For weeks afterward, Rocky stayed jumpy whenever night fell. It's been 7 years since then. Rocky's older now, slower, but every time I visit my brother, I make sure to scratch his ears and thank him. Whatever was out there in those woods, I'm certain Rocky saved me from it. It was close to midnight when I finally headed home from a long day at work. I usually take the train into the city, but that night I'd stayed late enough to miss the last one, so I drove. By the time I left, I was exhausted 2 hours past when I'd normally be asleep. Once I got out of the city, the highway gave way to empty rural roads, straight stretches of blacktop, no streetlights, no houses, just miles of trees on either side. I wasn't falling asleep, but every mile felt heavier, like it took real effort to stay alert. About 40 minutes in, I saw something odd. A pickup truck pulled off on the grassy shoulder. No lights, no hazard blinkers, no one around. Maybe someone ran out of gas and caught a ride home. I kept driving, but less than 2 minutes later, another car appeared, same situation, parked on the grass, completely dark. I'd driven that road dozens of times and had never seen a single stranded car, let alone 2 in a row. A couple more minutes passed. I was still thinking about it when something appeared in my headlights right in the middle of the lane. I didn't even have time to swerve. My right tire hit it with a hard thump. My heart jumped. I slowed, listening. Within a minute, the steering felt heavy, and the low tire icon flashed on my dash. I pulled to the shoulder and climbed out to check. The right front tire was hissing air, rim scraped like I'd hit metal. A tow truck was definitely in my near future. Standing there on that empty road, the woods pressing close, the whole scene felt off. And then I saw him. Far down the shoulder, a figure was walking toward me, just at the edge where the trees met the road. At first I thought, maybe they're from one of those other cars. But something about the way he moved slow, careful, hugging the tree line made every nerve in my body tighten. I slid back into my car, locked the doors, and called for a tow. While I was waiting, the man kept coming. He stepped out of the shadows and onto the pavement, heading straight for my window. Even in the low light, I could see how jittery he was, hands twitching at his sides. His face was pale, expression unreadable, but his eyes locked on mine like a predator sizing up prey. My instincts screamed. I threw the car into drive and pulled away, risking the shredded tire. The man stopped in the road, watching as I sped off. 20 seconds later, I passed another vehicle, this one with its driver's door standing wide open, interior light glowing on an empty seat. I didn't stop until I reached the next town. The tire was nearly flat, but at least I was safe. I called for help and, once my car was towed, tried to put the whole weird encounter behind me. 4 days later, I saw a local news story. 2 people had gone missing along that same stretch of road the exact night I'd driven it. Both vehicles had been found abandoned with punctured tires, like they'd hit something placed in the road. My stomach dropped. Those were the cars I'd passed. The man on the shoulder, he hadn't been a good Samaritan. He was hunting for victims. I called the police with everything I remembered, but as far as I know, they never found the missing people or the person behind it all. Sometimes I still think about that man's stare, about how close I came to stopping for help. And I wonder, if I hadn't driven off on that flat tire, would I have disappeared too?